What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU Raider Podcast. I'm your host, TRU Raider. Now, all the dust has settled from the draft. All this stuff is finally done. I'm very happy with the way that the draft turned out. I think that we only really went flashy with the first round, but besides that, I really felt like all the picks that happened after that just kind of lined up with what Pete Carroll and John Spytek have been a part of in the past, right? Of just building consistent, good rosters. And that's what I want to see. Speaking of flashy picks, I just saw an article, right? And I'm going to have to go ahead and share screen on that on YouTube, man. But this article kind of tripped me out, man. Let me pull it up real quick. So this article, it's heavy.com, Win City Raider, what's good? Good to see you. The title of this article says, Raiders will regret not drafting polarizing QB in a big way. And the polarizing QB is Shedeur Sanders. So it says, one of the biggest surprises of the 2025 NFL draft was the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders passed on former Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders 9 times before he was selected by the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders were heavily linked to the quarterback for months due to his connection with minority owner Tom Brady. The fact that Las Vegas kept passing him may have kept other teams from pulling the trigger. While Sanders certainly has his faults, nobody outside the NFL could have predicted he'd slip as far as he did. Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report was surprised the Raiders didn't take him as a developmental project to sit behind Geno Smith. The Las Vegas Raiders didn't need to chase a quarterback early in the draft, Knox wrote. They traded for Geno Smith early in the offseason and recently signed him to a 2-year, $75 million extension. Given Smith's history with new head coach Pete Carroll, he'll likely remain the starter for the foreseeable future. However, Smith will turn 35 in October, and the Raiders should be interested in developing a signal caller for the future. Raiders could regret not taking Sanders in a big way. Okay, I did put that on. Good. Time will tell how good Sanders ends up being, but if he's a star, a lot of teams are going to be kicking themselves. Knox believes that the Raiders are among the teams that are going to regret not selecting the quarterback. Now, according to ESPN's Pete Thamel, I guess is how you say it, several teams didn't view Sanders as a first-round talent and a first-round player. 2 different things. Las Vegas might have been one of those teams. However, the Raiders had multiple opportunities after drafting Jeanty and Besh. That's how you say his name, right? Besh. And before Cleveland stopped the slide to add Sanders as Smith's understudy. They didn't. And in a year or two, they may regret it in a big way. The Raiders aren't the only team that could have taken Sanders and didn't. If he's amazing, every quarterback-needy team in the NFL is going to be frustrated. Raiders looking for toughness in players. The Raiders didn't directly address why they weren't interested in Sanders, but they did drop some hints. Sanders has only ever been coached by his father and grew up with immense privilege. That doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't work hard, but he may not have the edge that Las Vegas is looking for. There's not going to be a place for you in this organization if if you aren't willing to go out there and lay it all out on the line all the time, General Manager John Spytek said. You'll get weeded out pretty quick. So I feel like as a personnel guy and with our scouts, we've got to find the right kind of mentality to bring that to life. Otherwise, they're going to show up, and by mid-August, Carroll is going to say, well, these guys, they won't give me their all, and that'll be a big miss by us. Perhaps the Raiders didn't think Sanders had the grit to be a part of their program, but it's but what? But it could just be more likely they wrote that wrong. But it could just be more likely that they didn't think he was a valuable prospect and they'd rather use their picks on other players. Now, I got to say, man, for me, this whole thing was a trip, right? Because, I mean, any of you guys that have been watching my channel for any amount of time know that I was saying we need Shedeur Sanders, right? And I was even saying when we were losing, like, let's tank for Sanders. Let's just tank for Sanders. And I was even watching tape, and I liked Cam Ward, but I was like, you know what? I liked Shedeur Sanders' tape a little bit more, right? Yeah, Ward had a lot more of the physical attributes and a lot. I mean, he's a better playmaker, but he made a lot more bad decisions, right? And I thought Shedeur Sanders is the guy. And as we got closer and closer to the draft, I started moving away from Sanders, right? And I like to stay open-minded and being willing to just be in a position where, I can just change my mind on a player or something given that I get new information about it, right? And as I get new information about it, it's like I started to shift. And the more, and I always talk about it, right? Like the way that a person interviews is a big deal to me, because yeah, you have the stats, you have the tape, you have the connections, But if your interview does not go well, I mean, because the way that a person talks about themselves, about teams, about culture, about football, it's like it all adds up, right? And Shedeur Sanders went in there and he trashed his own reputation by the way that he was interviewing, right? Going in there with an attitude of like how his dad was saying, oh, well, we won't let him go to certain teams, right? And he was going into certain interviews like why? I'm not here trying to interview for you to take me. I'm here, for you to interview me on why I should go ahead and go play for you, right? And that totally tanked his stock, and there's even that video from the combine where he was like, well, if you don't want to change your team and change your culture, then you don't want to draft me, and all of that kind of stuff just, Mike C., Sanders a diva. And a lot of people were saying Sanders a diva. And I was like, no, it's, all of that could be kind of calmed down when he gets to the league. And not to say that I don't think Shedeur Sanders is a good player, right? Because I believe Shedeur Sanders is a good player. I also think that he's a guy that's going to get to the NFL and he's going to work hard and he's going to get better. But his attitude really started to show, man. And that's when I started shifting and looking at other avenues, watching more tape on other players, because I thought it was a lock. Shedeur Sanders in the first round, if he's available at 6, that's what we do. And I am so happy that we got Ashton Jeanty, man. I am so happy. Ian Man says, I'll pass on prima donnas, not for Vegas lifestyle. There we go, man. Random Sports Fan Forum. He fell because he comes off as incredibly arrogant and a super me player. And that's the big thing, right? John Spytek and Pete Carroll repeatedly talked about, like, it's not just the tape, it's not just the stats, it's not just the player. It's about who that player is and how do they fit with what we're trying to do. And I think that it came off as very clear that Sanders did not fit that mold. So now there's this big debate on, like, did Tom Brady know that he's not that great of a QB or that he has some kind of attitude issues and then got to a spot where he said, no, don't draft him? Or did Pete Carroll and John Spytek said, look, we met with the kid, we don't like him, we refuse? Because I could see Tom Brady just being like, hey, I'm cool with that, right? And they really paint it like as if Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders are super close, when in reality, he worked with him in an off season, and then he would send him some text messages. He had a relationship with Deion Sanders. Doesn't mean that he's like buddy and is like all in on Shedeur Sanders and invested in this. Jeffrey, I understand why everybody passed on Shedeur Sanders, because we done an interview with our rookies and drafted all of them are in the facility besides Shedeur Sanders because he hasn't showed up yet. So he hasn't even showed up to Cleveland yet? That's crazy, man. Henry Ruggs got me all effed up. What do you mean Henry Ruggs got you messed up, Ian, man? What's going on with that? The King Leo, Sanders is going to be a great QB3 at Cleveland, bro. That's hilarious, bro. The thing is, man, is that Shedeur Sanders, I mean, Joe Flacco's old, right? Deshaun Watson, probably not going to play in the NFL ever again. Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, okay, he's got some upside, but he definitely has to sit for a couple years. Shedeur Sanders is probably the most likely quarterback to take over in the event of a Joe Flacco injury, or if, as the starter for next year. Sanders won't make Cleveland roster ahead of Gabriel. Mikey D, there's this thing that I was thinking about where Shedeur Sanders got drafted to Cleveland, but what if he tries to force his way off of Cleveland, man? What if he tries to force his way off the Browns to another team? That could get crazy. Okay, Raider Shield family, Navman, is this 93 Navman? You're confusing me right now, bro. Tim Leonard, what's good? What's good? I really like the draft went. We got some dog. Oh, I like the way the draft went. We got some dog. Dude, so there's so many times, man, where it's like the draft, there's these players that just keep popping up that's like, why? We've had too many of those. And so when we were on the board at number 6, Ashton Jeanty's available. I said, please don't let us mess this up, man. I really was convinced that there was a possibility that it was going to get destroyed, right? And so I was so happy when Ashton Jeanty came off the board. There were some players that I really wanted in round 2 that went before we picked, and I think that might be how Spytek and Pete Carroll were seeing it as well. And so when they got calls for trades to move back and pick up a couple of extra 3rd rounders and a 4th rounder, I could see why they did that. The second trade back kind of bothered me because I was hoping that we were going to get Burden, but I think that Besh is going to be, he's going to be that dude, right? He is physical. He believes in himself, right? He has that mentality like that they're looking for. And so I really think that that's going to be a good pickup, man. Mikey D, 5th round picks don't force their way off rosters unless you're a Shedeur Sanders. I could see that happening, man. It's so crazy. I can't believe he fell to round 5. Like when he fell out of round 1, I was like, I get it, right? When everybody passed on him in round 2, I went, wait a minute. Wait a minute. What is going on here, bro? Like, this is crazy. There's something that we either don't know or the NFL took a stand, man. And they're like, no, man, you're not going to come in here with your dad and just bully us. We're not going to take that. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's very interesting to me that the Browns would take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd and then go ahead and take a Shedeur Sanders in the 5th. I mean, I get it. Great value in the 5th round to where if he comes in and he acts a fool, you just cut him. You say, whatever, and it's not going to cost about crap, right? Lady Love, whoever gambled on this made a lot of money. You are right. Mike C believes that Shedeur Sanders will be out of the league in 3 years. Yeah, he's, Shedeur Sanders, Ian Manny about that party lifestyle. I think that he's a little too flashy. The fact that he was live streaming the whole draft thing, and there was a lot of things, man. That prank call where that kid pretended to be the GM from the Saints, and Shedeur Sanders was really confused. And Adam Schefter posted a thing saying that there's an investigation that's happening in the NFL because Shedeur Sanders had gotten like a burner phone just for the draft. That way he wouldn't have any of that kind of stuff. And somebody leaked the number. And these college kids were able to get a hold of it, prank called him, pretended to be the Saints in the 2nd round, acting like they were going to draft him. It was interesting. If you haven't seen that footage, if you just look it up, Shedeur Sanders, Saints GM prank phone call, I'm sure you'll find it. That's crazy. That was crazy. Straight bets. Sanders would have been QB 8 last year's draft, and the next year's draft he is already rated lower. I wouldn't doubt that, man. And really, I think that's a big reason why we didn't take Shedeur Sanders is because the project, the attitude, bringing Deion Sanders, all the drama. I really think that this regime looked at it and said, "Look, we're going to pick up a QB in the 6th round, right? And then we're just going to kind of go that route. Geno is our guy. Next year's draft is going to be better for quarterbacks. I'm sure the year after that is going to be better than this year for quarterbacks." And I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised, right? Jeffrey, if you watch Sanders getting drafted, our GM and head coach was not happy. So the owner, oh yeah, I forgot you're a Browns fan, right? Yeah, it was weird, right? When the Browns took Shedeur Sanders, all like you could just see the Browns staff, they did not look happy. It's almost like somebody made a call and said, "This is what you're doing right now." Which is, I mean, in the 5th round, like I was surprised that we didn't take him with our 2nd, 4th round pick. I really thought that we were going to go ahead and pick him up at some point late, humble him a little bit, and late enough in the draft to where it's like if he acts a fool, you could cut him and not even feel it, you know? And so I thought it was interesting that we didn't go that route, but you know. Okay, now man, so you changed the name for the new channel, and it's going to take us forever to figure out that it's you. So you got a new channel going on. Nav man, go ahead and drop your link in the chat, man. That way, if people want to go follow your channel, I assume it's called Raider Shield Family. In fact, I'm going to pull up YouTube right now, and I am going to go check that out because we got to support our own. We got to support our own. Navman is a real one. So if you do not know Navman, you're going to want to. All right, let me see. Okay. And I just hit that sub. I'm sub 68 on Navman's new channel. If you guys have not, go and check it out. Go and check it out. Raider Shield Family. Billy Davis, what's good? What's good? How you doing, man? No, this is Patrick. Raiders cooked this draft. Definitely, man. I'm definitely happy with how this went out. I think that we really drafted positions of need. I didn't really feel like we reached on. There was one player that I felt like we kind of reached on. I felt like it was kind of strange, and that was Rodgers. I mean, his stuff was like all right, you know, but like I mean, his like PFF grade wasn't even very high. I think it was like a 70 overall grade, whereas like Charlie Grant had a 91 PFF grade, right? And PFF grades aren't everything, right? But when it comes to offensive linemen, there's not usually a ton of stats to look at, and so I usually look at their grades, man. Oh yeah, you were asking about it. Yeah, definitely put the link in there, Nav, man. Ian, man, yep. Every time I see a player drinking it up, I get flashbacks of Ruggs, dude. And it's I don't know, it's crazy, man, to watch these young kids, right? Like they have such an accomplishment to get to the NFL, and then it just piss it all away over partying and going to Top Golf and stuff like that. Come on, man, like drive me crazy, man. Exactly. Now, man, drink all you want, get a damn, you got the money, get a limo, get an Uber. There's always some way to not drink and drive, man. I definitely do not like when people drink and drive, man. I lost some good friends that way. Jeffrey, yeah, why would you live stream the draft instead of being there? And you're falling in the draft, it's going to be harder for you to be a starter. So you want to get to the place you get drafted fast. And like I thought that was weird, right? That Shedeur Sanders was like, no, like I'm gonna go be with family, and right. And they put on this whole party, and like he made this special draft room, and he's live streaming it, and it seems like he's very focused on social media, on music, on all this stuff, right? Like there was this clip that I just saw yesterday, and it was Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and they're throwing the ball around and stuff. And Shedeur was like, hey, let's make a song. And Cam Ward just looks at him. He's like, I play football. And he's like, come on, man. You don't have any hobbies other than that, Cam? And he's like, that's what I want the world to see me doing, is playing football. He's like, when people Google my name, it's going to say Cam Ward, American football player. And I love that mentality. I love like being able to be focused and realize where you should be putting your time and energy, because it's difficult, man. Like part of the reason why like I haven't been putting out as much content lately, right? I had gotten a new job a couple months ago, and learning this new job, it's taken a whole lot out of me. It really, really has. And my content has suffered because of that, because I really have not had the energy to really put into actually doing things like watching film and studying these players and doing all this stuff, right? And so like if Shedeur Sanders is focused on social media presence and being like Darren Waller and getting in the studio and doing all that stuff, it's like then all of a sudden the things that he should be doing for football are going to be suffering. It's just how it goes, right? It's like we only have so much that we can give to any given area in our lives, and if we're focusing at all on the wrong things, like okay, like I used to make music, right? And then when my son was born, I had this realization, man. I was holding him, he was a newborn baby, and I made a decision, and I was like, I'm gonna focus on things that better the life for my family, right? And let's face it, right? I was okay at making music. Do I believe I was going to get rich doing it? No. Do I think I was going to do it for a living? No. Was I making any money off of it? No. I was doing it for fun, right? So it's like, can we talk about golf? Why? Because I'm talking about music, because it's relevant, and so I really put focus towards the things that I actually need to focus on for my life and for my family. And so, I would expect somebody who's trying to go, he thought he was the number one overall pick in the NFL draft, for him to be actually focusing on what he needs to do, right? Let's see. It's money. What's good? Raiders didn't take Sanders because Chip don't like black QBs, really? I've seen a lot of people taking this stance, right? And I would not disagree that in the NFL, there has been a thing about black QBs and this and that, right? I would say in this situation, I don't think that his race has anything to do with it. I really don't, right? And there was what's his name, man? Anyway, he's one of the big time analysts, right? And he was going off on this big old rant about it. And what it really comes down to is his behavior is what got him in this situation. Not the color of his skin, and not to say that doesn't happen, right? Because I think it does, right? But in this situation, I think it had more to do with his attitude and with his dad and the things that he was saying and doing. And so I think really Deion Sanders put Shedeur Sanders in a really, really bad situation by going on all the interviews that he was doing and saying all the things he was saying, acting like, like I think he was even talking trash about the Browns on one of them, right? And saying, "Oh, we're not going to allow him to go certain places." I think that Shedeur Sanders should have been a quarterback in this draft that could have skipped the combine and just done interviews and not thrown and ran and done all that stuff. I think that Shedeur Sanders this year could have been a quarterback that could do that, but because of all of the interviews and the stuff with his dad, that's what made him drop. And I bet you now he really regrets not participating in the combine. I think if he had participated in the combine, even though he had some bad interviews, he probably would have gone sooner than the 5th round. Yo, what's good? I have an interesting take on Shedeur. May be a hot take. Navman, let us know what's that hot take, man. Oh, okay, here's Navman's link. So you guys in the chat, I trust this guy. I trust this link. Let me see. It's money. Oh no, that's the same one, right? Yeah, it's the same comment. Let me see. Jeffrey, Shedeur's going to have to beat out Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel. It's not going to be easy, and I think it's my head is or I can beat you guys easily without doing all the work. I think that Shedeur Sanders going in the 5th round knows that he's in a situation where he has to come in and he has to bust his ass off. He really, really does. If he does not, it's going to be so easy for the Browns to cut him. And if he gets cut by a franchise because of his attitude, it's going to be extremely hard for him to ever get any team to pick him up, ever. Easty Cuts, do you think we should have took him? You know, there was a while where I was starting to think that we should take him. Like, I was like, dang, 2nd round, Shedeur Sanders, great value. 3rd round, great value. And then when we got to the 3rd round and we skipped him on our first 3rd round pick, by that point, I knew, like, you know what? There's something really wrong, and I think that we need to avoid this, you know. And I think that avoiding it was ideal. Daniel, to follow, salute. The Shedeur Dion culture is bigger than football, and NFL will learn that. Little Bucket, I think that you're right. Is that they are more focused on them and not on the team and the culture of the team. And I think that showed in the interviews. I think that showed in the pre-draft process, you know, and I don't know, man. I don't think that we're going to regret it. I think that Sanders, his ceiling is still not in the top 5 of NFL quarterbacks at his best. His basement, Shedeur Sanders could be one of those bottom 5 or 10 starting quarterbacks. I do think that Sanders will likely be somewhere in the middle. I view Shedeur Sanders being somewhere between ranked number 12 to ranked number 20, you know, like somewhere in that range after, you know, he's developed and all that stuff. Because if he starts this year, it's not going to go good. If he sits for a year or two, okay, I could see him getting good. Crazy. Whatever. R&J Podcast, what's up? What's up? How you doing, man? Oh, okay. Let's see, man. I'm gonna be straight with you now, man. I have never done that, and I don't even know. I don't even know how. If you go down to the description, my email's in there, man. If you send me an email, man, we can get you linked up, man. Jeffrey, Shedeur Sanders has one thing going for him. That's his accuracy. Doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not athletic. That's all he has is accuracy. I think that he is decently athletic. I think that they didn't want to put him as a running quarterback. I mean, that's how you get injured as a quarterback, right? I don't think he's like extremely athletic, but I think he's more athletic than a lot of his tape shows because most of the time he wasn't playing the style of play that causes him to do that. That's an interesting take. Shedeur Sanders is a right-handed Tua. I could see that. And Tua is actually a pretty good quarterback. Tua's not a top 5 quarterback, never will be, especially with his injury concerns, right? So there's a whole lot to that. Doza fam, not gonna lie to you, I was hoping we were gonna get him in the 5th. Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a 5th round pick after we traded back with Miami because during that trade we picked up a 3rd from them and they got a 5th from us, and we swapped seconds. So it, little bucket, I will regret my words. What do you mean I'll regret my words? What are you talking about, bro? About Shedeur? I was an advocate for Shedeur Sanders. I wanted us to take Shedeur Sanders, and then he made a lot of mistakes, man. And the more interviews I saw and stuff. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I can get you in here now, man. There we go. See, I'm not that much of a boomer, bro. Sometimes I feel like a boomer, dude. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. Okay, now, man, I sent it, bro. I believe that all you have to do is click on and you should get in. We'll see how it goes, man. And I hope that Shedeur Sanders has a good career. I do, right? But, and Exy Luno, like said, I am upset not getting Sanders. I was too for a little bit, right? But by the time we got down to like the end of the 3rd and the 4th round, it was like, I think that there's a reason why we need to stay away from this, because I'm surprised that somewhere, between Tom Brady, Mark Davis, Deion Sanders, that there wasn't something that happened where it was just like, hey, like we are going to force Spytek and Pete Carroll to take him, It didn't happen for a reason. I'm not sure of that reason, but Ian, man, aside from Jeanty pick, who is y'all's favorite pick? I mean, there's a couple. Okay, there we go. What's good, Nav, man? How you doing, man?
What's up, brother? How y'all doing?
I gotta do something real quick on my end. I forgot.
Oh, I had YouTube open too, so I just killed it. Keep the echo off. So I can go to the comments here. Oh, I lost your volume.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I got you.
For some reason, my mic cancels out the speakers for some reason, so I had to just unplug my mic. I hope my sound didn't get too messed up.
No, it's all good, bro. You're good. Hey, if you're wondering, I'm looking up here because I have a couple, 2 or 3 screens up here, and I'm trying to follow all the rhetoric and all the crazy shit around Shedeur. So,
all right.
Good to see you, though, man. Chad.
Good to see you, man.
That's my thing. I salute the chat. That's the driving force for all of us, is the folks that come in here. So, I appreciate the nice comments, brother. I'm really fledgling on the podcast stuff and the channel stuff. So I'm trying to get there. Hell, I had an 8-hour Saturday night show. 8 hours. It was supposed to be 3. I lost you again. I lost you.
My bad, man. I was just telling the TikTok chat that I was going to jump off TikTok because they're not going to be able to hear you.
Oh, I see. I don't want you to have to do that.
No, that's fine, man. They can jump over. I told them to jump over to YouTube. Hopefully they come into the chat.
So All right. So my cousin's a sports legal guy. And I was just chatting with him earlier. And blew my mind when he told me this. And I was going to kind of keep this to myself. But if anybody needs to hear this first, and it could be complete hot take, not even relevant or anything. So Shedeur senior 2024, right? So, okay, cool. But in 2020, everybody was offered one extra year of eligibility. So if he doesn't like what's going on, he certainly can arbitrate back to the NIL and be out of the NFL draft now, even now. So it legally is a thing. I wouldn't put it past the whole thing because, in my opinion, I think he has some stuff he needs to work on when it comes to interviewing and when it comes to, team over me, I think needs to happen a little bit more. You know what I mean? I understand it. It's the Sanders family, and trust me when I tell you, Deion Sanders is one of the big dogs in the NFL in history. I would put Deion in my all-time top 20 as far as a defensive player.
I agree.
And I get that, but I don't think Deion caused anything. I think it was more of all of these interviews. They weren't just interviews to play football. They were job interviews. And there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And I think in this day and age, where we're at with all the social media and all the stuff we're doing, look, we're not trying, us little guys like me and you, man, we're not trying to speculate. We're not trying to do that. We're just trying to figure it out. It's kind of like I watched my pug. His name's Raider Pug. He's a little black pug, and I watched him chase around this ball, and I'm like, damn, that's how I felt right before the draft. So I mean, the big part about it is the reality is he's in a Dylan Gabriel before him, though. That's epic, because I really honestly didn't think Dylan Gabriel was that damn good. I mean, if you go to the combine, you have no defense whatsoever around you, and you can't complete a pass. How in the hell are you gonna? Do you like pressure? Is that the only way you can complete a pass?
That's how I felt about the quarterback that the Saints took. What was his name? How do you say it? So or something?
Shook. It's actually Shook. Yeah.
Shook. Jeez.
And so I'm watching it right here. So I got it. So this may be a little bit of rumor. Silver and Black Entertainment right there. He just said something about Pegas. That dude is freaking Refrigerator Perry, bro. That dude, that's a monster. Huge pick. I didn't even know who in the hell he was. And we picked him up, and I went and looked at this dude. This dude's freaking monster. And he goes, hey, Jason, how you doing, man? And he runs like a sub-5 at his size. The dude's a monster. What a great pickup that late. Unreal. What's his name again? Somebody help me in the chat. I've been kind of digging around in the lower what we were doing, but Little Bucket, I just wanted to tell you that I agree with you, man. Yeah. If that's the mentality, I'm going to make you pay for a fifth round. Great. I want to see it. I really want to see it. You know, and I love that. I'm a big fan of being in the chat. Jason Downs can tell you. I try not to get too windy. I try to put a topic out and just let everybody else drive it. But that's just my style. But yeah, and that dude Pegas though, come on, man.
No, he's a big dude, man. And like, watch, let me pull it up on the screen real quick.
Yeah, that's a monster.
Like, he's a monster dude. I mean, he's 6'2", 325 pounds, listed as a defensive tackle. And I mean, you know, not only does he have stats in, you know, with sacks and things like that, but also with rushing. And the fact that he had 7 rushing touchdowns.
7 rushing touchdowns in 2024.
I'm really interested to see what is their plan on how are they going to utilize it.
Oh, they may do it. Just a package or two here and there. When the game's just kind of weird, nobody's planning for it. I love it. I love it. He might.
Somebody was talking about them maybe utilizing him for like tush push kind of scenarios instead of doing a tush push, but just putting him in to get the ball over a yard.
And Jeanty's behind him, I formation on the 1 yard line, and you just freaking roll him in there, freaking taking everybody out. You don't need a tush push, you know. Right. You follow? It's kind of. I'm like, damn, what a great pick. That was probably one of the best picks after the second round that we got, in my opinion. I was like, damn. I actually had to look him up. And the spelling of his name's terrible. It's like it's Peque or some shit like that. So it's not even easy to spell. I'm not. I had it up there earlier. I don't know if. Yeah. It's freaking awesome. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail your conversation, man. I know you were on
No, not at all, man. I mean, you know, and honestly, man, this is the first time that I've brought anybody else onto the channel. I had a conversation with Chris for Raiders a couple of weeks back, man, and I've been like so swamped with this new job that I picked up that I haven't even planned any. Like usually when I even jump on a video, like it's not even that planned out. I'm just like, hey, I think I need to make a video because it's been a minute, you know. So it's cool to have you come on.
This has been a huge freaking learning curve for me as well. And I'm actually kind of a technology guy, just not computer technology, you know? So it has taken me a minute to understand the ins and outs of all of it.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it than I originally thought, especially when I started the channel. I just been watching content and, you know, it just kept going in my head of like, well, maybe I should create a channel. And one day I just got like a wild hair and just decided to put out a video, and it just kind of became a thing that I do now. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Jason Downs, man. So Tommy Malo is the guy who's going to surprise you. He's an athlete 4.0 engineering student. He will be that Julian Edelman kind of guy. And I was actually really surprised when they picked him up because I didn't know anything about him.
I didn't either.
To see like the kind of like, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, they're bringing him in as a receiver, right?
Yeah. Yep. So would love to see the 6.5 receiver pan out. 6.5 receiver pan out. It's actually there. I mean, empty backfield, 6.5 receiver pan out. Yeah, it can be done with Bowers and Mayer. Yep. 4 wides, nobody in the backfield. Freaking roll hot. You know, how do you really defend that if you're able to do it? You know, it's I'm excited about the whole thing. And like before, let's see. Let me roll up the chat here. Who was it? Lil Bucket. He was the one that was kind of going, you guys are going to pay for this. The honest thing is this, for me, I hate that he got dropped like that because he didn't deserve that, no matter what happened. The whole burner phone thing and the whole freaking prank phone call, that's bullshit. Should never happen. And that's a product of freaking the world we live in right now. And he never deserved that. But I will tell you what, I had a moment in my life where I got humbled real good because I was just being a little bit too much of myself. And it made me better. You know, it turned me into a freaking absolute superstar. You know, after that, I'm like, yep, nope, now it's time to just work. You know, and if he does that, I think he'll be just fine.
Well, I'm hoping that that's the direction that Shedeur Sanders is going to go with this, right? Because to have that chip on his shoulder, to be in a position where it's like, look, I see where I messed up, and then making those proper corrections, I think that he can really, you know, get in the right trajectory for his career. But if he goes in there with this attitude of like, you know, I was wronged and you know, I had no part in this, then I think it's going to really go in the complete other direction and could be what ultimately derails him. Or otherwise, or he just says nothing and just grinds and just leaves it where it's at and just grinds. You know, sometimes addressing it makes it worse. So if you don't mind, can I hit your chat up a little bit? Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. So Tommy Malott was one of them, right? So let's see. Okay. Charles Grant had great value. Absolutely. Yep. And Cam Miller, absolutely. Pagaeus. I think the other a couple days ago we came up with a name for him. I'm gonna have to look back in my life to figure out what everybody said that his name would be. It was like Fridge Pagaeus or some shit like that. Jumbo, yeah, Tonka, Pagaeus, and Jeanty jumbo wishbone package.
Well, like the thing with Pagaeus, man, like it kind of reminds me. My first thought when I found out that he does some rushing snaps was it Jerome Bettis, you know, and of course, like not running on that many snaps or on that level, being able to have just that huge guy that can just, you know, get you those couple of yards, and I think that's why he got in those touchdown situations.
I think it's a brilliant pick. I really do. Brilliant pick at the time. He's a monster. And then let's see, Silver and Black Entertainment. Silver and Black Entertainment, I assume you have a channel being that's the way you say it. So Poggy. Okay. Thanks, Ian, man. I appreciate that, man. So Silver and Black said, he goes, he meant that 6'5" receiver. Oh, you mean Thornton, my boy from Tennessee? You kidding me? I watched that dude all year, man. I have tickets. I live in Tennessee, man. I watched that dude take hospital balls from that freaking douchebag Nico year in and year out, and he finally just got to the point where I'm going to go up, get it, grab it, and I'm going to turn myself into a ball and just freaking be done with it because I'm about to get smashed. Because that's all Nico did was just throw hospital balls to everybody, just airmail and everything. So, and Nico, the Tennessee Volunteers quarterback that transferred to UCLA, he went out unceremoniously, and there's flags all over my neighborhood saying Nico's a wanted man.
Yeah, I think with this addition, man, like, yeah, he's like almost 6'5", and then runs a 4.3 40.
Yeah,
I think that Trey Tucker might find himself in a position where he's falling to only special teams or maybe not even making the roster at some point. Because I mean, I really like Trey Tucker and he's really good, but his biggest downfall is that he's small. And so you have somebody that's more than 6 inches taller than him that can do the same things. I don't know, man. I don't know if he ends up making it.
I think if you put Thornton opposite Jacoby and you have Trey in the Y, right, in a slot right or left, and then Trey's going to be fine. And
that's what I hope, because like if he, if we don't utilize him, I think it's just bad value.
I want more seams out of him. I want more seam routes instead of like up and outs. I want him to be open. He never gets thrown the ball when he's open. Trey always he ends up getting some great stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd like to see some packages where you have them both just running full speed, and you got to make a decision like, who are we going to cover? And that might just open up Jacoby Myers down the middle or something like that.
Well, and that's like silver and black. I misunderstood what you were saying, but I mean, that's 6.5 to me. And when you say 6.5, I'm sitting there going, okay, so you have Tucker, you have Thornton, you have Jacoby, right? And you have Bowers, Mayer, and a running back as a single back set. How do you cover all that in a 6.5? That's a 6.5 set. That literally is a 6.5 set. Or you go no backs and you put another wide receiver in, then what? So it's I think we did very well. Yeah, hey, is it okay if Silver and Black? He said he actually has a firearms channel, which I love that shit.
Yeah, I actually just looked up his channel and I subbed, man. So if you want to share the link down in the chat, man, go for it.
That'd be badass, bro. I'll check him out. We could talk some firearms. It's 93 Nabman for a reason. I'm retired military, so yeah, I'm all about some firearms, brother. Yeah, just slap it in there.
I'm almost in this spot where it's like when you look at the kind of weapons that we got going on, right? Because you got Ashton Jeanty and Raheem Mostert, and then of course you got the Brock Bowers, and then Michael Mayer. What is that going to look like? Is Chip Kelly actually going to finally utilize this guy? Because I don't really feel like it's a skill issue as much as a utilization issue. And then you got Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers out there. And then, I mean, with, adding Besh and adding Thornton, like what? There's only one football to go around.
Yeah.
Starting to get this feeling like how is Chip Kelly actually going to utilize these weapons in a proper way where it can get spread out enough that it's worth keeping all of these guys on the roster.
Yeah. Ian Mann just said pew pew. Pew pew. Absolutely. Love some pew pew and some bang bang. So I'll be on tomorrow night at 8 Eastern. We're going to do we had time to sleep on it type thing. Now what you think, type of show. And then my co-host is Blue Richards. I'm not sure if you've ever seen Blue Richards. She's freaking awesome. We did a live last night where she was at the AC/DC show at Allegiant.
Oh, nice.
And had nothing to do with Raiders football, but she had her phone up there, taking videos while we were just chopping it up. So it was pretty cool. And but there's a thing called Story Time with Blue. That's a segment of mine. And it's where she reads children's books that have weird innuendos that if you weren't a child, you would definitely know that it's not good. So So there's that.
Cool. So you guys will be on tomorrow at 8 Eastern p.m.
8 Eastern time. Yep. I'll shoot you the link on that email you sent me when we're done here. Whenever you're ready to kick me off.
No, it's all good, man. I mean, really, I got no agenda, man. You know, I wanted to read that article because I wasn't even planning on going live, man. I woke up this morning, I got some gallbladder issues going on. And so I was like, man, I'm not going to put out any content. I'm just going to relax. And then I came across this article about, you know,
Like,
the
gotta
Raiders
talk about it. Yep.
I was like, man, I got to go live, dude. This is crazy. Because, like, I don't really think that we're going to live in a world where we really regret it. Now, if Shedeur Sanders actually does the proper things and he gets himself in a position where it's like, you know, he's a top 15 quarterback all of a sudden and he got picked in the 5th round, sure, I'm sure some teams are going to feel some type of way like, man, we could have had him. But I don't think that that's what Pete Carroll and John Spytek are trying to do. I'm actually more interested in the fact of even if we're picking, you know, in the lower half of the 1st round next year,
right?
No, or 2nd round, like the quarterback class is so much deeper. I feel like we could get pretty good value at that point if that's what they're looking to do.
I agree. However, if you look at the quarterback class for next year, guess who the number 2 rated quarterback is? The dude I just talked about from Tennessee that bailed on freaking Tennessee. Okay, so he already starting that, you know, and he's not even out of college yet. So, and Arch Manning, if they stay true to Manning form, he's not coming out. He'll be a junior. He's going to do a senior year. And the other thing is most of these quarterbacks, we haven't really seen a whole lot of play from them. So I really believe it's going to take some time to see these dudes play for real as starters day one. Just for us to know, you know.
Also, like the reports that go out like this early on about the next class, I remember there was so much Shedeur Sanders hype, and he was like the favorite to go number 1 overall, and it was like a no-brainer. And then, like, as the months went by through the fall and stuff, it just kind of got to this point where it was just like, what is happening? Why were they projecting him where they were, and then how did it turn out where it did?
Well, it went south quick because in reality, you look at it, Mel Kiper is known to be the draft guru. That dude had him the number 1 pick going into the draft, and he didn't waver from it. And the dude goes in the 5th. I mean, Mel Kiper's probably beside himself at this point. He may not even be a freaking draft guru after this. Because you know.
I was seeing tons of clips of Mel Kiper just like having a meltdown pretty much. Like basically saying that these NFL teams don't know anything about quarterbacks.
Hey, I wanted to say something to Silver and Black Entertainment. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Jason Downs is down there. Yeah. Okay. I believe that once we got Geno, the quarterback was not a priority. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I firmly believe I believe that. We would have been quick on the draw. I'm not sure if we wouldn't have tried to trade up to 1st, and you know, if we didn't get Geno. But I think as it played out, the way it played out, we get Geno, we got a proven guy. The last 3 years, he's been a freaking stud. He's been in 70% plus freaking completion percentages. He's been right around 4,000 yards a year, you know, and he can actually move. And he's actually young in his legs for his age because he didn't play much. So it's kind of, man.
Well, and then, you know, like the Geno Smith thing, when it first happened, I wasn't really sure how to feel about it. But then, like, looking at his tape and looking at, like, the offensive line that he had, they didn't have an absolutely great running game. I mean, there's a lot of things where moving over here, I feel like he's in a better position than he was over there in Seattle.
Absolutely.
And like how you said, he's got young legs, and I think that he's got at least 3 good years in him before he sees any kind of decline.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It was kind of like Geno Smith's always been good, but anybody that gets drafted by the Jets, it takes them 7 or 8 years to actually be good. You know?
Right, which who knows how that's going to turn out for Justin Fields going out there.
Yeah, no shit, right? So you went from you got drafted by the Bears, that didn't work. And then you go to the Steelers, well, yeah, you're all right. Russell Wilson comes in there and takes your job. And then now you're going to the Jets. I'm not sure how long that dude's going to be around, to be honest with you. I would have loved to have seen him silver and black, to be honest with you, in the offseason. That'd have been cool, I think. And then
I was about that too.
So Jason Downs says Mel Kiper said Jimmy Clausen would be the next Joe Montana. And he misses more than anybody. And then Ian Mann says Brady Quinn. He said Brady Quinn's the same. Yeah, he did, actually, if I remember right. I honestly think Field Yates gets it better. The young dude gets it closer. But even he was just shocked. It was unbelievable. There's something going on. And I guess the NFL actually has an investigation going on about it. Like,
I did see that Adam Schefter posted there was an investigation about the prank call and the leaked number, but then I mean, for all the teams to just continue to pass on him and continue to, I honestly thought that there was a world where he might go undrafted.
Well, I'm going to ask Jason Downs a question, and Jason, just hit me in the chat. Jason Downs gets on my channel from time to time. He's a freaking stud. He freaking knows ball. So I got a question for him. The NFL, the owners and coaches are like good old boy club. So do you think that there's a chance before the draft they all freaking had a conference call and said, this dude needs humble pie? I mean, but if that's the case, then that's a problem for the NFL because that's a collusion thing, and that's I mean, strictly prohibited in the NFL in the rule book, as far as that type of stuff. So like excluding a player. Dion didn't help at the very beginning of the whole process, even before the end of the season. He was saying that there's certain teams I won't let him go to, and he didn't say who they were. So therefore, each team's like, well, I'm not going to have him freaking Eli Manning, freaking Phillip Rivers me. So I'm pretty sure that was a bad thing to begin with. And
I can also see it being like the whole thing with tampering, where you can't do any tampering, but every team does it.
Right.
And so it could have been one of those kind of scenarios, or I could also see a world where it was more of a silent nod, where you just make eye contact with somebody, and it's like, yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah. So Jeffrey, is Sanders' dad actually his agent? That's a huge question, and everybody's asking whether he has an agent or not. And if it's his dad, I mean, I can see where that's probably because I don't think he's an agent to anyone else.
Except for Shiloh, which Shiloh just fired him and hired another agent,
Rosenhaus, which I got to be probably the best one. Drew Rosenhaus is Shiloh's agent. So that I did know. If the owners didn't, the GMs did. The GMs share info, but there is a series of events that each team got to see for themselves. Yeah. it's no different than us, Jason. I think when we see stuff that's, what is that? We share it to each other, and then everybody forms their own opinion, and it is what it is. What blows my mind is that the Browns got Gabriel and Sanders. Somebody's going to go. So what do you do with a rookie? Do you stick him on a practice squad? You can't just cut a rookie, can you? I'm looking in that. I'm trying to think, because you have to pay him. You don't have a choice. You drafted him.
Well, I mean, I think that he could one of them could not make the roster, and it could be that they're going to immediately part ways with Deshaun Watson, which if they should have never gotten involved with him in the first place.
Their cap hit. So I looked at that scenario, bro, and the cap hit they're going to take is $80 million if they cut him.
In 1 year?
Yes. Because they drew back the freaking guaranteed money because of injury clause. So if they cut him, it has to be because of injury. So he has $80 million against $80 million cap hit because of the injury clause.
So they gave him everything. Him for this year on the IR and then maybe cut him next year.
That's what I do. I just put him on IR. Just say, nope, you're not playing, bro. Just don't even show up. Just sit on the couch. We're going to give you your freaking, 40 mil, 45 mil. Yeah.
And Joe Flacco's definitely going to be the starter for them this year.
Well,
and then
at least he's going to.
Kenny Pickett, who, when you have Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett in one locker room, it's just crazy to pull on Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders after that.
Right. It's one of those where, Flacco's at least going to begin the season as the starter. I mean, he's already proven he can make that team win. He took them to playoffs, for crying out loud, when Watson got hurt. And I applaud that dude, man. That dude's old as dirt.
I mean, I'm not 40 yet, man, and there ain't no way I can't even keep up with my kid, man.
Right. He's 42 or 3. Somebody in the chat tell me he's 43, 44 years old, some shit like that. I mean, in like dude years, that's not terrible amount of years, but football years, man, that's a lot of years, man. And he's played pretty consistent, football since he was, 10. He just turned 40. Okay. I was overblowing it, Jason. Sorry.
But, I mean, even 40 in the NFL that's ancient, I mean, I don't feel like 40 is old in the rest of the world, but to be out there taking hits, man.
Go to that one.
Jeffrey Shedeur Sanders' brother said
Did he really say that?
Their dad as their agent. Shiloh Sanders. It came out that he fired him as the agent, which I thought that was weird because, like how Jason was saying, I don't think that Dion can act as a sports agent, but there was stuff all over social media about it.
Shiloh went 8 picks after freaking. He went 8 picks after.
Shiloh, I think Shiloh went UDFA, didn't he?
No, he got picked. The who's that? Tampa Bay, I do believe. He got picked. One.
Oh yeah, no, he got UDFA to the Buccaneers.
Oh, I thought he got picked to the Bucs. I thought for sure. Oh, UDFA. Okay, Jason. See, that's why I love Jason, dude. That dude sets me straight. I'm looking at so many stats and talking about so much different shit. I love when dudes can keep me freaking square.
Man, it's helpful, man, because sometimes the chat comes in super clutch, man. It's like, oh, okay, there's the information.
Yes, thank God I don't have to search. Yeah,
because straight up, man, I'm not one of those dudes that's like an NFL
What do you think of the picture behind me?
The Ashton Jeanty or the flag?
Both.
Those two go really well together.
Well, and look at the uniform. I don't think he's going to be 2 though.
Oh, I can't see the unicorn.
No, the uniform. I don't think he's going to be
Oh.
2. I don't think he's going to be 2. I think he's going to be this right here.
I'm wondering about that, right? Because Daniel Carlson would have to give up the number 2, but Ashton Jeanty was saying the importance and the relevance of the number 2 to him, and it sounded like it was really significant to him. So I have a feeling that he's really going to try to get that number 2.
Oh, Downs freaking doubling down. Look at that.
Hoping they give him the 24.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I watched enough tape on Ashton Jeanty to feel very confident about taking him at number 6. And that whole thing, like everybody's like up in arms, like, oh, the Raiders messed up because now he's the second highest paid running back in the league. A lot of those same people were saying we should have paid Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs, while he was a good running back, never saw anything close to the numbers that Ashton Jeanty put up.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Jacobs never even ran the amount of yards that Ashton Jeanty put up after contact. Ashton Jeanty had 1,700 yards after contact.
Hell, Jacobs spent most of his time freaking as a third down back in his college career.
Yeah, he wasn't even the number 1 guy in college. And yeah, he had that great season during the contract year for us, and he did good besides that. But, you know, what it came down to is the timing wasn't right. You know, like I could see if Pete Carroll and John Spytek had come in while that whole thing was happening with John Jacobs. I have a feeling that they would have probably gone ahead and done what they could to keep him. That way they could spend their first round pick on something else. But when you can get younger at the running back position, when you can get a generational talent like an Ashton Jeanty, because you're getting compared to Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. If you can even be in that conversation, that's like a no-brainer for me.
Absolutely. Well, and with Ashton Jeanty, the cool thing is he goes to social media and just says simple shit like this. Hold on. Where we go? There it is. I'd draft the guy they can't tackle. Thank you for your time, Ashton Jeanty.
Oh, yeah. Because it's tackle football.
I'd draft the guy they can't tackle. Thank you for your time. You know what I mean?
And you would think for being, you know, he's only 5'8". You would think that these bigger guys are going to be able to tackle him, but that was actually part of what they were saying as an advantage of his, is that these bigger guys have to go down to tackle a shorter back, and that it's more difficult for them.
I mean, physics. I mean, if physics tells you that someone closer to, like, someone's height closer to the ground is harder to bring down. You look at wrestling. You know, wrestling's the same way. It's the shorter dudes that are just freaking rock solid left and right. Those are your national champions. You know, the dudes with long legs and all this other stuff, they're easy to take down. But right, Derrick Henry's the unicorn, though, when it comes to that conversation. He's just different. Derrick Henry's just different.
That's true, man. But, you know, Jeffrey, you're right. Like, Jeanty's got the kind of payday that he could go ahead and buy that number 2 from Daniel Carlson, and I'm sure Carlson wouldn't be too upset about it.
I don't think he would have an issue with it, but from what I'm seeing from Jeanty, how freaking comes from a military family. My kids are kind of the same way, even though they're not football players. They're my daughters, but they have a certain level of humility. They don't ask shit from people that they already own. They don't ask to take something from them they already have, you know. And if I'm reading him correctly, I don't think he's gonna ask to take somebody else's number. I really don't.
I could see a situation where Daniel Carlson offers it up to him, though.
If he offers it, I would hope Jeanty will be like, no, bro, no, that's yours. And that video ever shows up, that's just going to tell us exactly what we were thinking. You know, I mean,
well, you can tell by like how Ashton Jeanty interviews. I really like the way he talks. Like that was one of the things that sold me on him. Because okay, you got this running back that is probably going too high in the draft for what the Raiders need right now, is what everybody is saying, right? And I started looking into him more, and his tape is great. And then you get into like when he actually talks, it's like that level of humility, because a lot of people view humility as like thinking less of yourself, but it's not about that. It's about being right size, right? About being able to actually, know where you're at and not be boastful and arrogant, but have confidence in your actual level,
Exactly. Well, it's like James Farrell. Welcome aboard, man. I don't think I'd seen you yet. Glad you're in here, man. Good people.
Yeah, James stops in here quite often.
Good deal.
But yeah, like Josh Jacobs, like how Jason was saying, he had 1 year of elite production. And besides that, like, yeah, he was a good back and he had good production, but never elite production until he was in a contract year. And then he immediately fell off after that the next season, and and really I like the way that Jeanty has better vision than Josh Jacobs. He's able to bounce off people better than Josh Jacobs, which says a lot, because I felt like Josh Jacobs was really good in those areas. I mean, he definitely far from a Zamir White that just runs into the pile and doesn't do anything about it, And so a lot of the talk that came out about our own line had to do with who we had running the ball, who we had throwing the ball. And, Sanjit T just put out a video where he was talking about these tackles that we drafted in the third round that are likely going to be guards in the NFL. And, talking about them being better than Parham and Jordan Meredith, which I really trust his take on offensive linemen. That's really his area of expertise. But I was really kind of shocked by that, because I thought Jordan Meredith played great when he came in after Cody Whitehair went out. And then Dylan Parham, I felt like he's a little undersized, and I felt like a lot of his bad numbers had to do with Andre James just always getting beat at center. But, if these guys, I think at the very least, we have competition on our offensive line, which is very good for depth. It's very good for getting the best guy out there. And then, with Geno Smith's ability to actually, get away from the pass rush.
Yeah.
I think that our offensive line is going to look a whole lot better than.
Yeah, we're going to be fine, especially with JPJ there full time at center position. I think that nastiness is going to spread right and left. It already started to, once he started there, it started to get better. He was just like mowing the nose tackle down and going over and seeing who he could help.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a center that's absolutely dominating in that fashion, everybody around him is going to do better. So I'm actually surprised that like we didn't run from Andre James as soon as we pulled in JPJ.
I don't know what the Andre James things was. That was a McDumbass, McFuckface, whatever you want to call him, evolution. And to be honest with you, it's been in such flux the last couple of years. We don't even really know what we have. Is the reality.
Right, because even though we're not in full rebuild, it's like I think that we're in full-on evaluation. This regime has to really see what do we actually have, and then, move some pieces around. If something's not working, let's change it up. And I think that that's why they went with the depth that they went with, because I didn't expect us to go back-to-back offensive linemen in the third round. I really thought that we were going to pick up one in the draft and maybe one later on in the 6th or 7th, but to get two in the third round,
right?
I think that they're really doing a good job of stacking the competition.
Right, and I think Jason just said something interesting there. Jeanty slippery at point of contact, not a power through tackles. He's got a great stiff arm. I watched him bury a couple dudes. He buried a Penn State freaking linebacker that got drafted real high. But which in the long run will equal longevity. I agree. He slips through him. He doesn't try to freaking power over him unless he has to. I agree with that. Now, I also agree with the next comment, if you can get that one up there, if you don't mind.
Oh.
From Jason. Yeah. Betch should get number 7 just because of his brother. Yes. That number 7 should be his. I don't think anybody in the facility is going to say that he's not getting 7. That's, if you haven't watched that video of what happened to his brother, I think it was the Senior Bowl or something like that, wasn't it, Jason? Sugar Bowl or something. Yeah, Geno give that up for that very reason. I bet you $1 Geno would say, "Here's your 7." If nothing else, he'll be 17, which I would love for somebody else to be 17. To be honest with you, because I'm done with the 17 number. That jersey sits in my closet, and I can't believe I ever bought the damn thing.
So, I had a feeling that was going to end up going wrong when I, purchased that jersey. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. The one I really messed up on is I got a Josh Jacobs number 8 jersey.
Mm-hmm.
That one was a bad move. I'm glad I didn't go with the Jack Jones, because when he got that pick 6 on Patrick Mahomes, and just stared him down on the way to the end zone, I almost just bought it right then and there. And I said, you know what, I'm going to kick back a little bit. Let's see. And I'm glad I didn't do that one. But the Ashton Jeanty, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that one.
Yeah, once we know the number for sure. Yep.
And I still want to get a Brock Bowers.
So he said, so Jeffrey said 22 would be interesting. It would be. I would love that, actually. I think that would be cool.
He's wearing 22 right now, actually.
Isn't that what I think he wore that in high school? Didn't he? I saw a picture of his high school stuff, and he wasn't wearing 2 the entire time. So the next one is James.
Paul Mao has the 20.
Yeah.
And Daniel Carlson has the 2.
Yeah.
Oh, Geno Eric Stokes has 22. Or at least that's what's listed on the Raiders website.
Well, I will tell you, Eric Stokes, sorry about it, bro. If he wants 22, he gets 22, bro. I'm just saying. But again, from what I'm seeing from Jeanty, he's probably not going to do that. I really firmly believe he's got the ethic that is, he's just like, I'll take whatever. Give me 93, Navman. Put Navman on my back. Just give me a 93, and I'll be the running back.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Jason said the way Jeanty presents himself should be an example for others. He will always have the media and sponsors on his side. Sponsors is where the long-term income will come from. And that's a big point, man, because, when you see somebody that comes into the league and they carry themselves the way that Jeanty is carrying himself, I mean, it speaks volumes. The owners love it. The coaches love it. GMs love it. And that is really going back to the Shedeur thing of that's where he messed up. He didn't come in with that humility. He didn't come in with that respect, and not realizing that, like, these guys hold, what could happen with his future. Like this thing that happened to me, man, like, I was working a job, man, that I absolutely loved, right? And I was working in corrections, and I kept hitting the warden for, alterations to my schedule, for increases in pay, and he was making all these things happen for me, and then I got this job offer to leave from there for more money, and I bailed on him, and I left. And this thing happened where I got there and I felt like I didn't really go the Shedeur route, right? But I was like, all this title and prestige kind of thing hit me, and the money, and then I got there and I regretted it almost instantly, right? And now, I just went back and interviewed, back with to go back to corrections, right? And somebody pulled me to the side, man, a friend of mine, and he's like, look, man, he's like, you better not go in there asking this guy for anything, man. He did all this stuff for you, and then you bailed on him, right? And so, like, this was like a really good situation for me to be able to humble myself walking back into this situation, because I already have my mindset really, really solid, right? Instead of coming from this arrogant place that I was at, it's like being able to see, like, have some appreciation for what I had and treat it as such.
Yep. That's where my career blew up, is when somebody freaking like put me on check, man. And I failed because of it, and then the rest of my life kind of blew up after that. I went, all right, I need to treat people better. I need to do better. I need to say things better. I need to be a lot more humble than I was. I got, and the thing is, I got built up that way. I went into the situation. I was good at what I did, and I got better, and everybody was telling me I was just the best. And that got to my head. And then I met up with the wrong dude. And that dude said, "You're fired." And I'm like, "Damn, why?" Well, because you're arrogant. And damn, that set me up for my next 30 years. So and I know I'm quite a bit older than most of the people in here. Not Jason, he's older than. Wait, I think he's probably close to the same age as me. But I'm sure he had the moment as well. But anyway, can we? I'm sorry, getting off the subject here. But can we go up one comment? And I want to address that comment above for Jamie. No, I have not. I have no thoughts. Zero thoughts. I don't have any capacity left in my brain to even think about it. I really, truly don't. What do you think?
No, I haven't even gotten to wrap my mind fully around this year's draft, right? And like finally I'm in a position where I think I'm going to be able to like put some more time into this. This new job that I was talking about earlier, that's been kind of like a big learning curve for me and a lot of big stressor for me. I'm moving back to my old job that I already know and love. And in that process, I think it's going to be easier for me to take some time and actually, really study the tape on the guys that we actually got instead of the theoretical who I thought we were going to draft, and, be able to look into that. But to look into next year at this point, I'm not even fully wrapped around this year's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Jeff just popped in.
401 Raider Jeff, what's up, man? Salute.
So let's see, where'd we stop at in the draft?
I want to try to get back up here. Robert Ratliff said, too much of a circus with Shedeur. Love to watch him play, but might be too much until he proves himself. And I think that's really the situation that he got himself in now, right? Where, falling all the way to the 5th round, going to the Browns, he has that opportunity to prove himself. And, and he'll either take that and run, or he won't be in the NFL in a couple of years,
Right.
And maybe he'll be an influencer and a rapper. I don't know.
He's either going to take it as a humble moment and just put his nose down and not listen to the noise and just freaking be the football player and freaking kill it and get off social media and all the other bullshit, take off all his chains and all that shit and just be a freaking a grinder and take the job. He's either going to do that or he's going to find himself cut from the Browns because they have 5 quarterbacks in that room. It's
right. And like I said before, if he gets cut from the Browns, he probably doesn't get another chance.
If you get cut from the Browns, bro, That's like getting cut from the Jets. It takes you a while to be able to get back in the league, you know?
Right. Ian,
So,
man, hey, thanks for subscribing to Raider Shield family, man. I appreciate
thanks,
that.
Ian, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks, man.
Let's see. Yeah, Alex Stokes still has to earn his spot. And I haven't even gotten to a point where I've watched thorough tape on the people that we picked up in free agency. What I do feel about those pickups is that they were like the best substitution for the players that we lost, that was seen by a lot of people as kind of like a lateral move. But honestly, I haven't watched enough on them to really have that strong of an opinion on it. I do like that we didn't overspend on that kind of stuff, but like really what it comes down to is that picking up what's his name? Darian Porter in the draft, I think was a great pickup.
That was a
Even
good
though
pickup.
he's a guy that hasn't done like he was injured last year, right? Didn't he have a knee injury?
Ankle, I think, or something like that. Something is a leg thing. I don't think it was anything major, though.
But yeah, like a 6'4", 200-pound cornerback who runs a 4.3. Like Al Davis is smiling in his grave right now.
He's like, that's the flashiest shit ever. Love it. I just want the measurables. Just bring the measurables. That's Al Davis. I want you big, fast, and in a hurry. That's Al Davis. So where are we at now on the chat?
See, Jeffrey, why are people so low on Dylan Gabriel if you look at what he did in college? Dylan Gabriel is somebody that they were talking about the Raiders being interested in, like, before the season had ended. But it looks like that didn't come to fruition, or maybe Tom Telesco is into him or something like that. But
Tom
really,
Telesco?
What?
Telesco.
Yeah. So yeah, before we got rid of it.
Oh, okay. I'm following you now. Okay. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, no. I think that they were looking at Dylan Gabriel, and honestly, I think if we still had Antonio Pierce as our coach, we probably would have taken Shedeur Sanders. I have a feeling it would have gone that route.
Oh yeah, yep. I find it like strange that Gabriel went before Sanders though, and went to the same team. I find that just very odd. Don't you?
I like this comment. Ian Man said, I wanted Powers Johnson to be in the 00 to honor Otto. So, like, I feel like there could be, like, a split fan base when it would come to that, right? Like, some people would see it as a nod, and some people would kind of see it like when Marcus Peters wore number 24. It was like, ooh, like, I don't think you belong in a 24, man. You got to prove yourself over here before you do all that.
If you put him in 01, if you could actually do that, I think everybody would freaking appreciate that shit. You know what I mean? If you could. I don't know if they can double digit with a 0 and first. You know what I mean? I don't know if they can do that, but that would be badass. If he was 0-1, that would be an honor to Otto, and also be like, I'm next. I think that would be cool.
So James was talking about the two of the QBs we drafted could be a sleeper. And honestly, like, these guys played against each other in the FCS championship. One of them's going to be playing special teams and maybe receiver for us. And the other one, I could see as maybe being a sleeper for the backup position. But honestly, I don't think that either of these guys are going to end up getting some kind of starting reps down the line. But, there's always surprises. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, and sometimes all it takes is for somebody to have an opportunity to get out there, and then all of a sudden, somebody like me that said, nah, they're not going to get a chance, all of a sudden I'd have to change my tune,
I just like the idea of it's kind of like Pete just stuck with the competition. Let's stick with the competition idea, and let's just bring a couple freaking dudes in and see what they got to prove. You know, I mean, it won't be the first time Matt Flynn was freaking the guy for freaking Seattle in the first round, and they got Russell Wilson, and they chose Russell Wilson, and the dude went and won them a Super Bowl. You know, so it's kind of like, I think Pete is a firm believer in the competition.
And I think that's absolutely necessary, because like, I hate when you see like a position where somebody just absolutely knows they have their job. You know, like,
yeah. Well, Geno knows he has the job.
That's
saying.
true. But I mean,
but
he also knows that he's walking into a split fan base, because there's a lot of people that love Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah,
and you know, we're gonna see it as soon as Geno Smith throws an interception or a pick six or something. People are gonna say, bench him. We need Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, bench him. Put AOC in. Yeah.
Oaks is gonna say he's gonna be the MVP. Yep. Yeah, all of that. I could see all that happening already, man. Alex said, I think Raiders should have drafted linebacker Teddy Buchanan instead of that Hemingway pick. I was really hoping that we were going to get Carson Schweschinger, but he went right away in the second round.
He did. You know, that was too early, in my opinion.
Him and Trey, I can't think of his last name, wide receiver. He went right after him in the second round.
Yeah.
And those are the two guys I really, really wanted us to get in the second round after we picked up Jeanty. And they both went off the board. And I don't know if Tom Telesco and, John Spytek and, and Pete Carroll had that same feeling or not. And that's why they traded back. But, after those guys were off the board, I really wasn't sure who we were going to go with. I liked the idea of Burden, but I think Besh is going to be one of those guys that's not going to be a top of the league wide receiver, but I think he's going to be a guy that shows up and gets done what we need to get done. He's good blocker. He's physical. They said he's the most physical receiver in the entire draft.
He's going to be a big Renfro, I think. Great big Renfro. Yeah, solid hands. Everything you throw at him, and he's not scared to take one.
Yeah, what did he have? Like one drop or something like that?
Yeah, one drop all year.
Jacoby had 0.
Wow.
So you got solid receivers that when you get the ball in their hands, they're going to hold on to it.
Yeah. And a lot of them that are accustomed to taking freaking big hits from it because their quarterbacks weren't very, very good. You know what I mean? So,
when you got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell and Desmond Ridder as your guys,
yeah, you're destined to fit up. Yeah.
It's amazing that we had Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers have the season that they had, and a big part of that is we could not run the ball. So we had no choice but to just throw.
Yep.
Like they're both it's going to look like they have a dip in production, but really what's going to happen is that Geno Smith is not going to have to throw the ball nearly as much. So we're going to have a lot more rushing yards. And then Jeanty's not going to have the same amount of production because he's going to have those targets out there in the receiving game. Brock Bowers is going to get yardage. Yep. Jacoby Myers is going to, these guys it's going to get spread out. And I think that it's going to look different than it has in the past because like Derek Carr always had this thing, man, where he would choose one receiver and he would just throw that guy the ball the whole season. That's why people really loved Darren Waller because he had a good season and Hunter Renfrow.
I think Derek Carr, a lot of that was after he got freaking mashed a few times, it was the happy feet. He was always stuck on his primary. And he got Geno Smith. You can see it on the videos. He's always scan, not there. Let me move. Let me scan again. And Derek Carr got his ass handed to him so many damn times. And eventually he just like honed in on one dude and just chucked it. And I don't blame it, dude. You get happy feet after a while. You get your ass kicked enough times, you choose not to fight, and that's kind of the thing. And anyhow, what was Teddy Buchanan instead of Hemingway? Can I address this?
Yeah.
Hemingway, yeah, it's okay. I would give our draft an A+ if we would have gotten a quality linebacker in the draft. Now, that means we would have had to take in probably at least one of the offensive linemen we got back to back, probably out of that. So I can't really say one way or the other how I feel about that. So I'm just going to benefit of the doubt. The draft was an A. That's benefit of the doubt for me. So just because I think we're giving something up to get another and that type of thing. And I think linebacker is kind of something you can actually you can deal with banger safeties. Like Chen can come up there and out a strong safety and just he can be that freaking cover linebacker. He can do that. So I think there's a method to the madness, and I think I'm just going to trust the process because it seems like for the last 25 years, I've not seen a process that is better than this. The way they've operated, how quiet they've been about everything, how easy they've been doing stuff, how I guess somebody said precise, how precise all of it's been. So I'm sure they wanted to get a linebacker, but I'm not sure they wanted to spend it early on a linebacker. That'd be my guess.
And that's the thing that really gets me about John Spytek is he seems so intentional with his words, with his moves, and I really have a lot of appreciation for that because, too often in my life I've seen people that are reactive instead of proactive, and so then it's just like taking the next issue that comes up and putting out that fire, and it kind of seems like they're a little bit convinced on the linebackers that we already have, which is a little bit strange to me because I'm not convinced about Devin White. There is Tommy Eichenberg, who was a 4th-round pick last year, who really saw no playing time. I liked when Amari Gainer went in, the little bit of playtime that he got. I was really happy with what I saw, but then they pulled him off the field, and I'm not sure why or what happened with that. So I'm really interested to see if they just really feel like they have enough depth at the linebacker position, or maybe they have some other plan in free agency, but I don't really think that there's –
I don't know. I'm telling you what, you turn back time 2 years and tell me that Gainer and Eichenberg are – 2 inside linebackers, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Well, turn back time, but and then Pete Carroll seems to be a little bit convinced that Devin White's going to have this resurgence in his career.
He may.
That's crazy. And he might, but there is okay, so I just Googled free agent linebackers, right? And right off the bat, I see Bobby Wagner. I see Levante David right there at the top of the list. Bobby Wagner was on the Seahawks, right?
That could happen. I could see that happening.
And I saw a post, right, when Pete Carroll first got hired, and I don't know if it was fake or not. I couldn't find it. But it was of Bobby Wagner putting a fingers crossed about Pete Carroll getting hired, right? And then it just had fingers crossed emoji. As if that's real, then that would be amazing for us to be able to pull him in after the draft. And then Levante David played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's already connections. And if you look down the line of who we've picked up, it's all about these connections. Yeah. Really, besides that, there's not any names that really catch my attention on this list.
Hey, brother, I got a call. Let me Let me pick that up right quick. I'll be right back.
All right, man.
I'm just going to tell him to beat it, but yeah.
All right, man. Let me see. Let me try to catch up with this chat a little bit. Raider Jeff saying if Shedeur gets cut by Cleveland, then he's bound for the CFL. Yeah, that is factual. Factual. So, Alec, when I was talking about Porter, I was actually thinking about another player that I was looking into during the draft. And so, yeah, no, Porter is one of those dudes that I think is, I don't know that he is necessarily just going to ball out year one, but I could see that, with Jack Jones being gone, I mean, there's going to be competition for sure, but there's possibility that he could win that job, and we'll see how that kind of turns out. What was it? For some reason, I can't remember. Stokes. I think he's going to be in competition with Stokes over that corner position. Let's see. James said, I'm hearing high hopes on offensive and defensive linemen in the wide receiver from Tennessee. So, I mean, let me see if I have him already pulled up. I don't have him pulled up already.
Dante Thornton's a stud. I'm flat out telling you that. You're going to like this guy. I promise you. Wait, did I say promise? My bad.
You said that.
I just, what I meant to say was I've watched the dude play. He's an absolute freaking gamer, baller. He's got the size. He's got the hands. He's got the speed. And he can run any route. Well,
and like if you watch the video of him running the 40 at the combine, like the dude is absolutely fast. Like I don't think it's like a fluke that he ran a 4.3. Like he is fast.
Well, his split time was 1.09. Like his time, yeah.
His tape, man, like
yeah.
It looked like the quarterback was really struggling to catch him in stride when they throw him the ball because he was just fast, and then he's big. I mean, really, if Besh is like a bigger Hunter Renfrow, then Thornton is a bigger Trey Tucker. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's a bigger Jacoby Myers. Well, you're bullshitting. And faster.
Yeah. I mean, let me pull this up real quick because I mean, his stats aren't like, mind blowing. I mean, he had 661 receiving yards. Average was 25 though. So he takes the top off the defense. I mean, you can see him running over here. The dude is just fast, and so that's really going to be his role. He's not going to be the X receiver. He's not going to be the number one guy. He's not even going to be the number two guy, but he's going to have his situations where Geno Smith has an arm and can get him that ball.
Yep. And he has a young arm. Geno has a young arm.
It's not overly used. He has a practice squad arm. Let's see.
I didn't mean to derail the chat here. Sorry.
No, you're good.
So somebody said Dylan's a dog. Oh, that's Jason. So I think what hurt Dylan Gabriel is a few things actually. I'm not going to dispute size for a quarterback, not necessarily a huge thing. He is a bit shorter. He is also left-handed. Left-handed quarterbacks takes a minute to get receivers acclimated to the spin on the ball. I do know that 100%. The other is, as much as I disagree with the combine, and I don't think you should take too much stock on it, but when the dude goes in there and he has no defense and he can't complete a pass, I have a hard time with him. Does that mean he only thrives with pressure in his face? I mean, if you can't make practice reps, then how is he gonna, how's he gonna fare in the NFL? That's just my piece of it.
Right, you got to be able to make those throws, and that tells me it's probably not as much of a skill issue as it is feeling the pressure of the situation. And if that's a situation that he can't handle the pressure of, then it's not going to translate well when you're in the big game at a moment where it's like, we need to make this drive to make the playoffs. If we don't score right now, we're done. He's going to crumble.
Agreed. That's kind of my thought process on that. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's like I said, I like to say it's strictly my opinion.
Jason always coming with the facts. The NFL banned the 00 number after Ken Burrows of Houston Oilers. They had a uniform numbers to match positions. 0 and 00 were banned. The NFL allowed 0 just as recent as 2021. And that's how Corian Bennett ended up on 0.
Yep.
James,
exactly right.
The Scatterboo, I don't think he would have been a great fit for us, honestly. Not only was his 40 time was actually pretty slow, which, his tape is good. His tape is definitely good, and I liked him at first. But then there was an audio that came out where he was talking trash about the Geno Smith trade and how much they paid him. And then also he's a 49ers fan. So, and I know that that's not everything, right? But that's like 0 for 2 right there. Those 2 knocks kind of got me. But as soon as we got Ashton Jeanty, it was like, we're not taking another running back. Now, if we went with, with Membao or somebody else in the first round, I really wanted Travion Henderson or Judkins because they already know Chip Kelly's system, and I think that would have been very useful. But besides that, no.
So, what do you think? Just 0 for JPJ.
Corian Bennett would have to be willing to give it up, but I could see that.
I'm pretty sure JPJ be like, "Yeah, give me that shit." I don't think the attitude of any of our dudes that we have from last year are gonna be that way. You know what I mean? I don't think it's about them. You know what I mean? I really don't. Especially JPJ. That dude is. That's probably one of the best draft picks we've had in many years, man.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, him and Brock Bowers, those 2 dudes, as humble and badasses they are, and how mean they are. I mean, they're quiet. They're quiet offline, but on the field, they're freaking madmen. I love that.
The thing that gets me, man, and for anybody that doesn't know who this is, I'm going to do a share screen real quick. But I'm just surprised that there's not any references about JPJ being the juggernaut. He even has that special helmet that I think they gave him because of the concussion concerns, but his helmet is larger than the other helmets, especially in the front. And just like the way that he bullies people, like he just runs through everybody, and
he has no neck. It's all head and body.
JPJ, and then and it goes back to that conversation, right? Of like, we don't have any me guys. I think Jack Jones was really the last me guy. I mean, and you could. No, I mean, I can't really think of anybody else on this roster that is more about themselves than the team. I mean, even Max Crosby, and somebody could argue that Max Crosby is definitely about himself, right? In some ways. But I think more than anything, he is team, and he really views himself highly on how he is about the team and the culture.
And if you think about it in a different perspective, Max is like, pay me, and I'll show everybody else what happens when you freaking are a Raider. You know, and I don't think that the Mark Davis had a problem paying. It was just a matter of getting it done. It's all it was. That was going to happen. I don't know where all the concern was. that was going to happen. I wasn't
concerned about that at all, man.
No, that's going to happen. So where we at?
Besh being our third receiver, and you know, I saw a take where somebody said he's going to be receiver 1 right out the gate. I saw somebody else say he's going to be receiver 2 and Jacoby will be that 1. Really, Brock Bowers is receiver 1, right? But he's technically he's not. He's tight end.
Right.
And he's going to be that number 1 option. But I could see where Jacoby Myers could end up with more targets than Besh. But the way that they're going to complement each other, all of these guys, you know, the differences, the distinct differences between all of our receivers, even our 2 tight ends. I mean, everybody catching the ball is very different in very good complementary ways.
It's very different. You said very different. Yeah, it's very different. Yeah. To have everybody that catches the ball when it's thrown to them, that's very different.
I wouldn't even be surprised if like all of our receivers had similar numbers to each other, honestly.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be too much of a shocker. Now, probably Brock Bowers is probably going to carry most of the load, but you know, defenses are going to be playing him much different than they did this last season. Because I mean, that's a huge, huge threat, especially when you got the threat of Ashton Jeanty, you got a play action, and then you have somebody like Thornton taking the top off of defense. Probably Brock Bowers is the guy that's going to get the ball in a lot of those situations.
Yeah, well, and my thought is this: we may not see the yardage production from Brock Bowers, but we're going to see more touchdowns, I think.
I would hope so. That was one of the things that I didn't like about his stats from his rookie season. It was the touchdown production was just not there. But when you have Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball, it's like,
and Getsy making the calls. Let's run the ball 3 times in a row, even though we don't have a running game. You know,
it was like run, throw, punt, run, throw, punt.
yeah, exactly. So
I remember one of the watch parties we did, man. It was like we kept calling it out. Do you think he's going to do a run, throw, punt, or do you think he's going to do a run, punt? You know, and it was just
Absolutely.
Raiders saying that he still wants to see AOC 12 get a legit shot to compete for the number 1 spot.
Can I address this first?
Yeah.
I think AOC is the best QB2 that we can even imagine having. And compete for the number 1 spot. I don't see that. But if the dude's been doing his work, man, and he beats out Geno, Pete Carroll's not. He's not the guy that goes, sorry, Geno, man. I know we brought you in, but this dude's just better. If that's what he does, that's what he does, man. And I'm telling you what, I would be freaking through the roof for that because I dig that young man. I really do.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's got a lot of good character. I think that he doesn't believe in himself quite enough, and that's what kind of holds him back a little bit. But he's shown in several different scenarios where he could really put up good numbers, and it's not just about the stats, but it's about the timing, you know. And he has good timing when he does, but he doesn't when he doesn't. And I think that you know, the way that Geno Smith's contract is laid out, we could get out of it after year 1. And so I saw another content creator that was talking about that there's even a good way to get out of it after 2 years, you know. And so there's a lot of different options that aren't financial detriment to the franchise or salary cap, rather.
It's been put together friendly on both sides because Um, if a early departure, the team doesn't suffer, and neither does Geno. So it's pretty good from what I saw. The option, the third year option, is literally an option. The second year is literally an option. It's a team and player option. The third year is a team option. So what you do is you just hand them his guaranteed money, and you take a very minimal cap hit, at any time after the first year. So it's no matter what happens, we're in a good position there, I think.
I think Geno's betting on himself, and I hope he wins, honestly. And just like how I would love for Aiden O'Connell to get a chance, I'm never overly attached to the name on the back of the jersey, right? It's like best man's up next, and
yep.
And if Aiden O'Connell comes in and does better in training camp than Geno Smith, I don't really care what cap hit we take. If he's the better guy, you better put him out there.
Right. Agreed. But I'm just telling you that if that's the case, then we're not in like cap hell from it. We're taking on Seahawks remaining stuff. So it's not something we're bound to for 10 years, like the Cleveland Browns were. But holy shit!
Yeah, those kind of contracts are crazy to me.
Yeah.
I could also see a situation where Geno Smith plays really good in year one and then requests to restructure his contract. Give him a little bit more security.
If we go to the playoffs, he should.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But if we don't, then he has no business even thinking about it. So that's kind of my thing.
Seeing initially picking up Geno Smith I wasn't really thrilled about it. I was like, really, this is our big splash of we're trying to win now. But then after watching his tape, it was like the dude he's actually really, really solid. And it looks like they're doing what's necessary to beef up this offensive line. And then you give him a running back like an Ashton Jeanty. I mean, at this point, if he fails, then,
it's on him.
It's definitely on him. It's not like, you didn't put him in the right situation to succeed. And
hey, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, he threw for 4,000 yards and had the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the NFL. With the 26th rated offensive line. Is that right?
I believe all of that to be accurate, man. And when you have an offensive line like that and you're still having that kind of completion percentage, it's like imagine having some time to throw the ball.
74% or some shit like that. That's the
right. Number that's coming up in my brain too.
Yeah. I mean, damn, 74%. And then I look at the picks. So he had a lot of picks, right? It was pretty much half of the touchdown passes he had. But I looked at half of them were tip balls, drop balls. And I was just like, damn, okay. So he really only had 8 picks.
I think it was Raider Films that put together a tape breakdown of him where it showed the tip balls that were getting intercepted. And yes, that counts against the quarterback, but it's when you really look at the situations, it's okay, that wasn't really his bad.
Offensive line's in his lap. There was actually one where he bounced it off his freaking own offensive guard's helmet because his offensive guard was in his lap. And actually almost hurt himself, hit his hand on his own guard's helmet. That's how bad their offensive line was.
Yeah, and even though our offensive line wasn't absolutely great, I think that our offensive line did a pretty good job for the situation where where defenses knew that we were not running the ball. And then they and when we tried to, we absolutely failed. And then they knew Gardner Minshew, he couldn't see over the offensive line.
But did you notice our running game get better when JPJ moved to center?
Oh, absolutely. Immediately.
I mean, Abdullah got better. McCormick was freaking killing it. You know, the center position, in my opinion, for the offensive line is the freaking core. It's that intensity. There's several on film that, I mean, me and my daughter were watching some film earlier. I'm like, watch this dude. He goes out and blasts this nose tackle, puts him on his ass, and he's looking around who else to hit. You know, and I'm like, that's a center, Cheyenne. And she goes, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I even remember some plays where, you know, like just seeing like, you know, we got whoever has the ball and is running it down the field, right? And it's like, is that JPJ up there? Like he's like 30 yards up the field. What's he doing right now?
The center is freaking chasing down the play.
Yeah.
I mean, just in case he needs to make a block somewhere.
And sometimes he did, man, and they came in clutch. You know, I mean, he's a dude that really I think is gonna be one of the absolute best centers in the league for some time, as long as he can stay healthy. If he can't stay healthy, there's going to be problems.
I don't think it's going to be a problem for him at center. I really don't.
I thought it was the dumbest thing that they put him as guard. Like, why convert him into a guard? Like, they should have just put Andre James as the guard, because Andre James was a guard that got converted to center, and then he never played well at center. He just never did.
In his entire career.
I can't believe they paid him the way they did. It didn't make any sense. And like I remember at one point, you know, I don't want to say who it was because I can't really remember, but there was a content creator that was saying that he was a top 10 center right after he got that deal. And I can't agree with that. You know, I've seen him get beat way too much. And I think that a lot of times, like, maybe the numbers didn't go against him because he got beat and then that same player beat a guard before getting to the quarterback. And then maybe the guard got blamed or something. I don't know. But it's like when you're a liability at center, everybody else is going to do worse because of it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So let's see. Who else? What else we got in here?
So we've been going 2 hours, man. And
that's pretty awesome, dude.
That's crazy, man. I really appreciate you jumping on with me, man. I'm gonna have to get going.
No, it's a good time. Hey, I want to, if you don't mind, I wanted to plug somebody. So I think Alec may only be the other one in here other than us. Can you check the participants? Jefferson.
13.
It's hard to check it from my end on how many folks we have in here.
Yeah, on mine it says 13.
Okay, good. Okay, so I just want to plug a few folks, if I may, since you. All right, so I'm not going to throw the links in there. But mine is Raider Shield Family. I'll be on tomorrow evening at 8 Eastern time, which is 5 Pacific. And we're just going to chop it up, talk about how we feel now after we've had some time to sleep about it, and because I haven't had time to sleep at all. So anyway, but that, and then also Jeff Raider. So if you put on there 401 Jeff Raider, he's always on. Shoot, he's doing games. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's definitely worth checking out. Also, Rafa Kazi, freaking amazing human being from Australia. You're going to have to be on late with him because we're literally like 12 to 15 hours difference with him. Awesome. Great dude. Let's see who else. Chris for Raiders, which is Chris with the number 4 Raiders. And then see, of course you, but they already know that one. And then J Raider is another one that's an up and comer. J Raider. Yep.
We just said you, Jeff. And I just subbed to you, and I've been seeing you on with Chris, and I don't know why I hadn't subbed to you, but I am now.
Shit. That's it. Yeah, you have kind of the same kind of beard, actually, except he calls his a mustache because he didn't have any beard in the middle. He calls it a mustache instead. Let's see. Who else? Who else we got, Jeff? Go ahead. Throw one in there.
Some interesting information there, Jeffrey.
Falcons kid, huh?
Oof.
Wow. Oh boy, that'd be interesting to, because I'm pretty sure there's a connection there somehow or another between the kids.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else? Lunatic. You know who Lunatic is, right?
Lunatic.
Raiders Allegiance is another good one. He has Raider Vision. His whole idea of Raider Vision is getting all these content creators on here and putting them in one spot, and you can see when everybody's on there. There's like a rotating deal. That's kind of his vision for it. I don't know. I think it's kind of infancy, but that way you can.
Raiders Allegiance.
Yeah, Raiders Allegiance.
I'm subbed up over there.
Yeah, so that's Lunatic Raider. If you guys just want to look it up that way.
Yeah, it's Lunatic with a K.
Yeah, with a K. Lunatik. Lunatic Raider. Awesome. Gravy. Coach Gravy is another good one. Unless you want to talk running backs, if you're going to be critical of running backs, you don't want to be there because he's a running back coach. He will let you have it. Great. Christopher Raiders found that out. He found that hardcore. So, yeah, he said it's a mustache. See? Let's see. Who else? Trying to think of another one. Oh, Jason. RNJ Podcast. RNJ Podcast is another one.
Wasn't RNJ just in here a while ago?
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, 805. 805's freaking money. So, like _ 805 _ Raider.
I just subbed to a bunch of new channels.
Yep. Just saying. Just throwing it out there, guys. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of people talking different stuff. And we all do it different ways, but we all like to hang out together and we all like to have a good time. We might just be chopping it up, maybe, but I think we all take premium in what everybody's saying in the chat. And sometimes we get a little off track and we start talking a bit, but I promise you, we really see what's down there, and we're trying to bring it all up. It's just, we get busy. It's harder than you guys think. It really is to follow all this stuff. So
yeah, especially when it gets like busy, man. There's been times where I'm on a live and before I totally tanked my algorithm, there was times where there was over 100 people in the chat and it's going so fast, and then you find out they're not putting comments for me to read. They're talking to each other, but up with it sometimes. It's like,
and that's cool. Yeah, I'll leave that stuff alone. And I'll give anybody that's in the chat a pointer. If you want to talk to another guy in the chat or another person in the chat, put an @ in front of their name before you have that conversation, and that will that will prompt them that it was directly to them. And then when we see it, we'll know that that's not something we need to talk about. It helps us out, helps you guys out. You guys, that way, just put an @ in front of their name. And that helps a lot. So.
All right, man. Well, thanks for jumping on, Nav, man. You're welcome here anytime, bro, for real.
Dude, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a minute. I was like, damn, I really want to get on there. And then I saw you live. I'm like, oh shit, let me pop on there.
No, that was perfect, man.
Appreciate you, man. Awesome.
Yeah, you too, man. So
like my background though, right? You like my background though. There it is. Hey, round 1, pick 6. There it is. We're stuck with it. Here's what it is, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm happy about that, man. I'm really, really happy about that, and I can't wait to see it in action. That's what it comes down to.
I don't think we're going to be disappointed in this dude. I really don't. Just from what I've seen and the way he handles himself, just it's a big. I'm a big A on that guy, for sure.
English, yeah, no, me as well, man. Me as well. And like I said, dude, you're always welcome here, man. I just sent you over my phone number and the email, man. So
okay, sounds good, bro.
Let's do it again soon, man.
We can do it that way. You can also follow me on IG. My IG is the same as my name, which is 93 Nabman. And
I'll be straight. I'll go find you, but I don't really jump on IG very much, man.
Yeah, 93 Nabman. If you go to IG, and if you pop a link on there, I can jump on that way too. It's a little bit quicker. That's a tab that doesn't take up too much space to where I get get a little overblown with it. So either way, email's good. Just tell me which one you're doing and I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I just found you there.
All right, cool.
All right, cool, man. Now, man, thank you for jumping on. And like always, Nation, love you guys. Catch you guys on the next one.
Take care.
You as well.